welcome to week 3 of online forest school. It's a beautiful day here. We're really enjoying being outside.
This week we're going to do all about birds. We're really getting excited about the RSPB Big Garden Birdwatch. So hopefully last week you all sent off for your packs from the RSPB. If you didn't, if you forgot, that doesn't matter at all because you won't get it through the post, but if you just go online, you can download the resources online, so that's okay. And even if you can't do that, you can still do all the forest school activities that we're going to do today in our session. So welcome and
Enjoy!
Let's go!
Enjoy! No.
I'm going to read a poem to you now by Emily Dickinson, and it's all about hope. And Emily Dickinson compares hope to a bird, which I just thought was really appropriate for our theme this week to do with our bird watching. I'm also going to share with you some amazing pictures that Mrs. Lee took of some rainbows on the way to work. So rainbows are often a symbol of hope and have been used lots during the coronavirus pandemic as a symbol of hope. And here we've got a symbol of a bird as hope. So listen to this, it's lovely. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. And isn't that just so lovely, the way it talks about storms and how resilient birds are in a storm? They can survive so much, travelling thousands and thousands of miles, can't they? And about keeping us warm as hope keeps us warm even when things are tricky. And that it never asks anything of us. We don't have to give hope anything, it just gives to us. How wonderful that is. Whilst we look at these photos of rainbows, it might be nice to think about what you're hoping for at the moment. Is there something you're looking forward to? Or something that you hope will happen soon? Making a really simple bird feeder today because we'd like to encourage lots and lots of birds into our garden, ready for the great big bird watch of the weekend. If you go online onto the RSPB website or even just onto Google and Google simple bird feeders, there's loads of different options of ones to make. I've chosen one to make that relies on just general ingredients that you'll have at home. So there are lots, for example, that you'll use birdseed and suet. So if you had that sort of thing, you could have a go at making a different type of bird feeder. But this is one that you could make just with anything that you have in your house that's suitable for birds. So I had a really bruised apple that one of my children had left behind in their lunchbox and not eaten. So it was all bruised and battered. So I sliced that up and that's got some holes in. Now if you're going to use fruit, that's a really good food for birds. If you're going to slice it and put holes in the middle, you're going to need adult supervision or an adult to do that for you. I've done these ready and can you see they're going a bit brown and bruised because they've been left out. And then I've got some raisins that are left over from the Christmas cake I never made and some cereal. Now this was that cereal that you guys didn't like very much, the little mini wheats. And some unsalted nuts. So nuts are great for birds, but the salt that comes on a lot of nuts, it isn't good for birds. So you've got to use the unsalted ones. And then we're going to make it into a bit of you could call it a necklace or you could call it a bunting. It's just a long piece of string. Any sort of string that you've got would be fine. And we're just going to thread things onto it. So with things like the apple, Eddie, you can have a go too. You can just tie that onto the end. You can thread those through really easy because I put a hole in them. Now if you had a really big needle at home, you could actually put a needle through things like fruit and cereal to thread it on. I don't have one, So I'm going to just try and tie it on and maybe stuff my apple with the raisins. How are you getting on, Eddie? Ah, yeah, so you tied on an apple too.
Yeah.
Great. That looks brilliant. So what else are you going to add to yours? I'm going to try one of these, which will be tricky because you're going to have to tie it. It's going to be quite fiddly. It's actually quite relaxing, isn't it? Focusing on something that's practical like that. And it's a nice break from doing your home learning on screens all day as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hope the birds like these healthy cereals more than you and your sister do. Really good concentrating, Ed. That's brilliant.
Can't get it through.
Managed to get a cereal on mine. So we're going to have to put these in the trees, high up out of the way of any predators. You think of any predators for birds that might be in gardens? Cats. They're the main one, aren't they? People's pet cats chasing the birds. So the higher up these are, the safer for the birds. So these unsalted almonds, I'm going to have a go with that now. Shall we speed things up a little?
Yeah.
So Eddie, you found that quite frustrating, didn't you? The nuts and the cereal quite difficult to thread on, weren't they?
Yeah.
So what are you doing now?
I'm stuffing the middle with raisins.
Yeah, so the apples went on really easy and were really easy to tie on, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then stuffing those where the hole in the middle where the core used to be with raisins is going to make a really tasty treat.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is that you found it difficult, but then you found a solution. So you're still going to have something really tasty for those birds.
Yeah.
And I did notice that you were having a bit of a nibble on those raisins too.
And now the raisins are falling out. I
So
can't really
there you
fit
go.
that.
That's fantastic. And here's mine. So that we can now tie up in our trees,
Yeah.
ready to encourage some birds in our garden. Forest school now, and I've got my bird feeders with me, and we're going to hang them in the tree. And I've decided to hang them in front of our den that we built last week, so that then we can do our bird watching from our den. The great thing about being in a den when you're bird watching is that the birds are less likely to notice you and be frightened of you. So you might get to see a few more. If you're hidden, if you made a den in your garden last week and it's still there, you could hide away in it, and hopefully the birds will trust you a bit because you'll look part of it. So they look rather splendid hanging in the trees, and we will see if they attract any birds to our forest school.
So this is a bird feeder that we've made. It's really simple. It's just a toilet roll, and we've covered it. Can you just keep it still for a minute, please? But we've covered it in peanut butter, and then we have pumpkin seeds, some almonds, and some dried cranberries. No salt on any of the almonds, all just natural. So we're just going to hang it from our tree and hope that the birds come. Here are a few more items that you might find in your kitchen that you could use for your bird feeders. Just going to give you a couple of tips though. If you're using a banana, make sure you peel them. Hard cheese. If there's any mould, please remove. This could be poisonous. Cooked rice and pasta. It needs to be unsalted and without sauce, so just plain, and maybe chop up that pasta too. If you're unsure, make sure you visit the RSPB website and they will give you all the information that you need. Don't forget to ask permission if you help yourself to any of these food items at home. So I'm here in our den at Forest School, ready to start our great big bird watch. You can find this lovely sheet, there's a link on our Wellbeing Classroom. So you've either download this from the classroom, or if you've sent off for your pack, you'll also receive it. It's the RSPB Birdwatch. I'm in our den. I'm lucky enough to be here at school, and I can see the bird feeders that Mrs. Armstead put out. So if you've got a den at home, or if you can find somewhere outside where it's warm, get your cup of tea or your hot chocolate, then definitely do that for an hour. But if you can't, please don't think that you can't do this project. Sit in your bedroom window, sit in the kitchen, anywhere where you can see outside and hopefully encourage the birds to come into the garden. Now, the key to filling in this is how many birds you see at the same time. So if there's one moment where you see 3 pigeons, put your number 3. Next time, could be a pigeon again. If it's only 1, don't worry, it's always about the higher number, so it's about how many you see at a time. The most important thing is to keep an eye out, encourage as many birds into your garden as you can, and that great special word, which is patience. But also just enjoy that time out for an hour. You can tell mum and dad or grandma and grandpa that you're busy for a whole hour just watching the birds. Good luck.
I'm going to read you a story now from the RSPB, and it's called Lucky Duck. Duck was paddling round and round the pond, feeling very happy. I really belong here, he said to himself out loud. I can swim with my big webbed feet. I can gobble up the water weeds with my big wide beak. Duck could see his reflection in the water. How colourful I am, he cried out. My head is green, my beak is yellow, my neck is brown, and my feet are... He lifted one foot out of the water to see. Orange! What a lucky duck I am. Just then, his friends, Blackbird, Robin and Blue Tit, turned up. Duck suddenly felt very sorry for them. Poor Blackbird, he said. You are not very colourful at all. You have nothing but black feathers and a yellow beak. Maybe so, said Blackbird, but I can sing. He sat on his perch, opened his beak, and sang and sang and sang. Duck tried to sing like Blackbird, but all he could do was give a little quack. Duck looked at his friend Robin. What a lovely red breast you have, Robin, said Duck. But I have a great big beak to eat up my food. You only have a tiny, tiny beak. Maybe so, said Robin, but with my tiny, sharp beak, I can catch tiny bugs. And with that, Robin hopped along the ground and picked up a bug, so fast that nobody could see what it was. Robin swallowed the bug with a loud gulp. Duck tried to catch fast bugs, but he was too slow. No matter how often he opened his great big beak, the bugs managed to run away. Duck looked up at his friend Blue Tit, who was sitting in the tree. What a bright blue head you have, Blue Tit. And your front is as yellow as a buttercup, said Duck. But poor you, for you are so small, and you have such little feet. You could never swim fast round the pond like I can. Maybe so, said Blue Tit, but watch what I can do. Blue Tit flew all the way to the end of the tiniest twig on the tree, and then she hung upside down by her feet. She pecked up a tiny insect that had been hiding underneath. Can you do that? She asked Duck. Duck jumped up to land on a tiny twig just like Blue Tit, but he was far too heavy. Down he went and fell into the pond with a mighty Splash. "Well," said Duck, as water dripped off his beak into the water with a plop, plop, plop. "I thought I was a lucky duck. But you can all do clever things that I can't, so that must mean we are all lucky." And with that, the friends went off to play. I'd just like to take a moment to reflect on that story. All the birds in the story had different skills and attributes, didn't they? And Duck was feeling very proud of himself, but also quite jealous of the other birds. It's really, really good to acknowledge other people's skills and celebrate those, but also to have a think about what we're really good at and feel proud of ourselves. After all, we are the most wonderful versions of ourselves, and no one else can do that, can they? I'd like you to take a moment now just to have a think about what you're really good at and what you're really proud of yourself for.
Another really important thing to do in the winter is leave some water out for the birds. So when the frost comes, it will freeze over. So access to water is really important. We've just used a recycled tub here, so you can find anything. Just fill it with a little bit of water. Make sure it's kept nice and firm and doesn't blow away. We just placed a stick on here, and to help stop it freeze over when we do have those frosty mornings, I'm just going to put a little stick in there so the birds can come and land and have a drink.
For our next activity, we're going to try and build some nests, which is a really fun activity and just shows how skilled the birds are. Mrs. Lee is collecting some nice pine needles, which are going to act as a waterproof, warm, soft layer in the middle of the nest. And we've got some nice dry grass, which is also going to add a bit of warmth around the edge. So we'll see you back at Forest School when we've collected all our materials.
It's so soft, and it's definitely going to keep the birds nice and warm and cosy.
So we've got back to Forest School with all the goodies that we've been foraging. We found this amazing ivy. Some of you, when you come to Forest School, are really good at taking this ivy down from the trees, because it actually starts to strangle the trees if there's too much of it, and then they struggle to grow. So nature doesn't mind at all if we borrow some of this for our nest. It's a really good base because we can weave it. You see how long it is? Just wait for that lorry to go by. You can weave it into a circle. Like that. Yeah, you can wear them as crowns, Mrs. Lee. And in the summer, you could put flowers and things in them.
Definitely.
And look how glamorous it would look.
Beautiful.
But for now, they're birds' nests. They're also good at Christmas for doing wreaths. So that would look really lovely on your door with holly. And so we've got the base, and then we've just collected loads of other materials that we showed you.
Pine.
Some pine, so that's going to pad, and it's nice waterproof there, so that's going to be in the inside of the nest. And the moss is going to keep them really warm, our little birdies, our imaginary birdies. And this is going to be padding around the outside, so that's what we need next. So I think we'll speed it up so you don't have to watch it all in real time. And you can watch our nest come to life and see if you can get some ideas to make one yourself. We're feeling quite pleased with ourselves, with our nest.
So we're going to hope the little bird comes and takes over.
Because imagine making all that just with your beak.
Oh, amazing.
So it's incredible that they could do it. We've put 3 little pine cones in to represent some birds' eggs.
You see?
And that would actually make a really nice Easter decoration, wouldn't it?
Would. But we definitely hope if we leave this in a tree somewhere that we'll have some nesting birds at some point.
And we were saying that we think that it's magpies that like to steal other birds' nests. So you might find a magpie, but I think really it's probably just quite a fun activity, just to have a go at imagining being a bird. We'd love to see your photos of your bird feeders and your nests on Google Classroom.
Definitely. Please send them in.
Please send them in. See you next week. See if I can reach high enough in the trees to put it up.